Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Young and the Restless channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Now, let's jump straight into today's exciting update. The drama in Genoa City is about to explode during the week of July 20th through the 24th, 2026, as old grudges, dangerous alliances, and emotional betrayals collide in ways that could change several lives forever. At the heart of the storm stands Kyle Abbott, a man who has watched his family endure one devastating blow after another, and now he appears ready to abandon restraint in favor of revenge. The pain inflicted upon the Abbott family has left scars that refuse to heal, and Kyle is no longer interested in simply moving forward. He wants justice, no matter how messy it becomes. At the same time, Nikki Newman once again finds herself caught in the impossible gravity of Victor Newman's influence, struggling between heartbreak and loyalty as emotions threaten to overwhelm every decision she makes. While Adam Newman continues pushing back against his father's relentless control, Billy Abbott grows increasingly energized for battles yet to come. Kane Ashby begins embracing an unexpected romantic chapter, and Matt Clark continues stirring chaos wherever he goes. Before all of those explosive developments unfold, however, the story first turns to the emotional events already unfolding during the week of July 15th, where every conversation plants the seeds for the conflicts that are about to erupt. Wednesday begins with Victor Newman receiving fresh intelligence from his private investigator, and the news immediately darkens his already sour mood. Patty Williams has officially been denied bail and remains locked behind bars after her violent actions, while Jack Abbott is steadily recovering from the terrifying attack that nearly claimed his life. Instead of finding relief in those updates, Victor's attention immediately shifts toward another detail that ignites his anger. His investigator reveals that Nikki Newman and Victoria Newman are currently on their way to visit Jack at the hospital, a revelation that instantly fills Victor with resentment. Across town, Nikki arrives carrying the weight of both gratitude and guilt. She is deeply hurt that Jack never told her everything that happened to him, yet before discussing his own condition, Jack gently insists on hearing about her health. Nikki finally opens up about the frightening tumor that has turned her world upside down, while Victoria quietly steps outside, overwhelmed by emotions she can no longer hide. Sitting alone in the waiting room, she breaks into tears until Kyle Abbott unexpectedly finds her, recognizing immediately just how much pressure the Newman family is carrying. Kyle gently points out the obvious truth that Victor is never going to approve of Nikki visiting Jack, but he also insists that Nikki does not need to endure Victor's fury while she is fighting such a terrifying medical battle. Victoria understands Kyle's concern, yet she cannot help defending her parents' complicated marriage, believing that despite everything, Victor and Nikki ultimately belong together. Kyle refuses to let the conversation end there, challenging Victoria on something she has avoided confronting for far too long. He asks whether she has ever truly regretted Victor's relentless attacks against the Abbott family, forcing Victoria into an uncomfortable silence before she admits she has never been able to control her father's actions. Kyle reminds her that everything their families are suffering can be traced back to Victor's decision to bring Patty Williams back into town, and once again, the Newmans refuse to hold Victor accountable for the destruction he causes. Victoria quietly hopes that perhaps this time Nikki will finally stand up to Victor in a way she never has before. Meanwhile, inside the hospital room, Jack explains that Patty has now been arrested for attempting to murder both him and Diane Jenkins, bringing Nikki enormous relief as she expresses gratitude that Patty is finally locked away where she can no longer hurt anyone. Even with Patty behind bars, Nikki cannot ignore the painful truth weighing on her conscience. She openly admits that although Victor secured the very best surgeon to help save her eyesight and has stood beside her through this frightening medical crisis, he also bears responsibility for creating the nightmare that nearly destroyed Jack and Diane. The conflict inside Nikki becomes impossible to ignore as gratitude clashes violently against disappointment, leaving her questioning whether she can ever truly forgive Victor for unleashing Patty's chaos upon everyone she loves. Jack, despite being one of Victor's oldest rivals, responds with remarkable compassion instead of bitterness. He assures Nikki that both he and Diane are recovering well and gently reminds her that regardless of everything that has happened, Victor is still the man she may need beside her during this difficult chapter. With an amused smile, Jack even jokes that he never imagined he would one day find himself rooting for Nikki and Victor to reconcile. Nikki admits she has no idea what life will look like once the bandages finally come off and her sight is hopefully restored, yet she takes comfort in knowing that love and support surround her, even if Victor is not standing beside her. Before long, Diane walks into the room, witnessing the touching conversation between Nikki and Jack, and Nikki sincerely tells her how happy she is that she and Jack have found their way back to each other before she and Victoria quietly leave the hospital behind. Once Once Nikki departs, Diane eagerly talks about bringing Jack home, longing to leave the hospital and return to some sense of normal life after everything they have endured. Kyle heads back to work while Jack persuades Diane to climb into the hospital bed beside him, sharing a quiet, comforting embrace that speaks louder than words ever could. Wrapped together in a moment of peace after so much violence and uncertainty, they find themselves worrying less about their own recovery and more about Kyle. Diane fears their son may still be carrying invisible emotional wounds from everything Patty put him through, but Jack gently reassures her that Kyle is stronger than they realize and believes their family will eventually heal. Elsewhere, another emotionally charged confrontation begins as Chelsea Lawson and Adam Newman prepare themselves for a tense meeting with Victor. They already know they are walking into a hostile conversation, especially after Victor has learned about Nikki's visit to Jack and his temper is already simmering dangerously close to boiling over. Chelsea desperately pleads with Victor not to target Sally Spectra's company, reminding him that Sally had nothing to do with the conflicts that have consumed the Newman family and that she and Adam simply want the chance to build something entirely new together. Victor refuses to soften, insisting that allowing anyone to walk away with what belongs to Newman Enterprises would send a dangerous message that stealing from him carries no consequences. Adam argues that very few people even know about the situation, making Victor's obsession seem unnecessary, while Chelsea reminds him that Billy Abbott is now working at Chancellor rather than Spectra. Victor laughs with absolute confidence, convinced that Billy will eventually destroy Kane Ashby's operation from the inside, saving him the trouble altogether. Adam then proposes another solution, reminding Victor that he willingly handed Chancellor over to Lily Winters. So why not simply allow Sally to keep Newman Media and move forward? Victor dismisses the idea with another laugh, declaring that once Billy and Kane inevitably tear Chancellor apart, he will simply reclaim that company as well. Adam finally asks for 6 months to build a brand new division from the ground up with Chelsea, hoping to carve out an independent future free from Victor's endless interference. Victor surprisingly grants them permission, but immediately crushes any optimism by making one condition painfully clear. They are forbidden from interfering with his plans against Sally. Adam and Chelsea leave deeply discouraged, realizing Victor has absolutely no intention of abandoning his campaign because, in his mind, Sally's company still belongs to him, while he coldly dismisses their concerns as nothing more than guilt lingering from Adam's betrayal and failed relationship with Sally. Not long afterward, Victoria brings Nikki home just as Adam and Chelsea are preparing to leave. Nikki warmly acknowledges that Adam understands her fear better than almost anyone because he once experienced temporary blindness himself, and Adam sincerely offers whatever guidance or support he can provide as she prepares for the uncertain days ahead. After Adam and Chelsea depart, Nikki quietly asks Victor whether he still plans to accompany her when the bandages finally come off the following day. Rather than answering with compassion, Victor reveals that he already knows she visited Jack, angrily referring to his longtime rival with open contempt before storming out of the room in a fit of wounded pride. Victoria has to explain to her mother that Victor has already left because Nikki never even heard him leave, making the painful silence feel even heavier. Later, Adam and Chelsea sit together over coffee, venting their growing frustration with Victor's relentless behavior. They even consider moving away from the Newman Ranch entirely, but Connor Newman loves living there, making the decision far more complicated than either of them would like. Their conversation ultimately circles back to Sally, as both desperately search for some way to protect her from Victor's obsession, especially now that she deserves peace and stability during her pregnancy instead of constant emotional warfare. Meanwhile, inside the cold walls of the jail, Patty Williams paces endlessly around her cell, trapped with nothing but her racing thoughts until an unexpected visitor arrives. Kyle Abbott steps forward, carrying a purpose far more dangerous than simple curiosity. Patty gleefully reminds him that his parents have reunited, suggesting he should finally be happy, but Kyle has not come to celebrate. Instead, he offers Patty a chance to help destroy the man who manipulated everyone from the shadows. Kyle demands proof that Victor Newman orchestrated the chain of events leading to Patty's violent actions, believing that exposing Victor may finally bring the accountability he has escaped for years. Patty merely responds with a chilling smile, wearing the unsettling expression that reminds everyone why she remains one of Genoa City's most unpredictable and dangerous figures. Whether Kyle has just opened the door to justice or unleashed an even greater nightmare remains one of the biggest questions hanging over the days ahead. As Thursday, July 16th arrives, entirely different fears begin consuming the Newman family. Nikki cannot stop worrying that Nick Newman may relapse and fall back into addiction after everything he has endured, while Sharon quietly checks on him during a meeting at Crimson Lights, determined to make sure he is holding together. Although previous hints suggested Nick's sobriety could soon be tested, so far he continues resisting temptation, leaving everyone cautiously hopeful that he can remain strong. Elsewhere, Victoria Newman and Claire Grace Newman gather to honor the memory of Cole Howard, whose passing the previous July continues leaving a painful void in their lives. Claire channels her grief into something meaningful by naming the new Newman Publishing division after her father, ensuring his legacy will continue inspiring future generations. Yet even during such a heartfelt tribute, Victor cannot resist taking another swipe at Spectra, proving once again that his endless vendettas continue consuming every aspect of his life. As if the tension on screen were not enough, excitement also grows behind the scenes, with congratulations pouring in for Eric Braeden after earning a Daytime Emmy nomination for lead actor, while Christian LeBlanc's nomination sparks lively debate among fans questioning whether his recent material truly fit a leading category. By Friday, July 17th, fresh trouble erupts inside the Shadow Room as Matt Clark once again inserts himself into Noah Newman and Sienna Bacall's fragile relationship. Despite repeatedly claiming he wants redemption and forgiveness, Matt continues provoking both of them at every opportunity, pushing Noah dangerously close to losing control. The frustration becomes almost impossible to contain as Noah looks ready to throw a punch, making it painfully clear that Matt's so-called attempts at making amends are accomplishing exactly the opposite. Off in another corner of Genoa City, Lily Winters spends time talking with Kane Ashby at the Genoa City Athletic Club, with conversations likely revolving around their newest hires, Holden and Billy, or perhaps the growing concerns surrounding Devon's increasingly volatile behavior. By the end of the week, Lily and Nate openly discuss those worries, while Abby Newman also finds herself deeply concerned about Devon's emotional state. Meanwhile, an unexpected shift takes place between Nikki and Victor as the two agree to make a fresh start together. Whether Jack's encouraging words finally reach Nikki's heart, or whether she is secretly planning some future reckoning while pretending to reconcile, remains an intriguing mystery that leaves viewers wondering what her true intentions really are. Looking ahead to the explosive week of July 20th through the 24th, the final day of sweeps promises even greater drama as every storyline accelerates toward major turning points. Phyllis Summers and Matt Clark continue sharing increasingly suspicious moments together until Nick unexpectedly catches them in a compromising position that could ignite an entirely new round of conflict. At the same time, congratulations also go out to Michelle Stafford for earning a Lead Actress Daytime Emmy nomination, adding even more excitement for longtime fans. Perhaps the biggest question looming over the week centers on Kyle's dangerous meeting with Patty Williams. If Patty realizes the difference between spending years inside state prison or returning to a psychiatric facility, she may decide that exposing Victor Newman is her smartest move. Kyle could very well convince her to strike a deal, with Michael Baldwin potentially negotiating alongside Christine Williams Ramalotti to secure treatment in a mental institution instead of traditional incarceration. Such an arrangement could finally expose Victor's role in Patty's crimes, delivering the devastating revenge Kyle has been seeking ever since his family was nearly destroyed. The fallout hardly ends there. Billy Abbott may soon climb aboard the revenge train himself after discovering Victor has now turned his attention toward destroying Sally Spectra's company. An unlikely alliance could begin taking shape, with Adam and Chelsea potentially joining forces alongside Billy in a united effort to stop Victor before he causes even more destruction. Victoria remains burdened with the enormous responsibility of running Newman Enterprises while constantly managing the emotional chaos her father's relentless actions create around everyone he loves. At the same time, sparks between Lily Winters and Kane Ashby continue burning hotter than ever, hinting that romance may soon blossom even as business pressures continue mounting around them. Beyond the dramatic storylines themselves, the celebration extends into the Daytime Emmy nominations, with Cameron Grimes receiving recognition for supporting actress alongside Beth Maitland, while Ray Wise earns a guest performer nomination for his unforgettable portrayal of Ian Ward. The Young and the Restless also secures nominations for Best Daytime Drama, Directing, Sound Editing, Set Decoration for both the memorable Dumas in France episode and the Halloween special filled with creative costumes, as well as recognition for hair and makeup, costume design, and casting. Whether these victories behind the scenes mirror the emotional victories waiting ahead on screen remains uncertain, but one thing is unmistakably clear. The coming days in Genoa City promise revenge, romance, heartbreak, shocking betrayals, and emotional confrontations that will leave no family untouched.